Thumpers, welcome back to another episode of Hyper Heroes here on Hyper RPG. My name is Adam Hlavik, and I'm joined here, as always, with one Hector Navarro.
That's me.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
We have a very special guest today. Augustine cannot be here. He is doing some mountain climbing down in Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
So we brought in a good friend, Mr. Jay Washington.
Thank you for having
Collider
me.
Schmodown, Screen Junkies News.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
Of course.
This is going to be fun.
It's gonna be
I'm
a lot
so
of fun.
stoked that Jay's here because if you guys haven't seen it, he was a guest for our last episode of Cineverse
which is
here
out
on
on
Hyper
YouTube.
RPG. And Jay brought the conversation. Jay, like we had just had a great time, and that it went by like that because we were all just hanging out, and Jay had some great insight, thoughts, and
Thank
stuff.
you,
so
man. I try to do that.
I'm stoked. I'm really excited.
I try to be useful when I'm around.
Yeah.
I just want to be a pretty face.
That just means that you're going to have to come back when we do our watch-along of The Defenders.
Oh yeah.
Sunday, August 27th. In case you guys missed it, I posted on my Twitter. We are going to be doing a watch-along all day. It's going to be the day after we do our live hyperdrive on Twitch. So we're going to go through the entire season. Thankfully, because it's a shortened season, it's only 8 episodes. We can do it in one day and not feel like our brains are going to melt.
We're filming this right now. We're filming this episode Thursday night. I'm gonna go home and probably pop in the first episode, watch
am
that,
too.
pop it, and it's on Netflix. I'll
Yeah.
just hit
What are
play.
you, an old man?
What tape are you going
Yeah.
I'm going to pop it in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be kind, rewind, and then
Max.
watch that. Yeah. So I'm definitely gonna try to have the show finished by the time we do our watch along. But yeah, Jay, if you end up watching any bit of it, and if you have a favorite
Do
episode,
you not forget, I have the Trusty Psychic podcast.
That's
Where we
right.
talk about all the Marvel and DC TV shows and movies. I have to watch
you
this.
have to watch it.
I'm going to end up binging it anyway. I mean, it's
course.
only 8 episodes,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's not like 13 like everything else. 8, I'm done.
I have a
Done.
confession. I have to still watch Iron Fist this weekend. So
You still have
Well,
to.
my
I
condolences
mean,
to your soul.
yeah, you know. Well, here's the thing. I want to go into Defenders knowing each of the characters
Sure.
well.
Sure.
I don't want to go into Iron Fist being like, nah, I didn't watch it because everybody hated it.
And for good and bad, I think there will be something. Good job, Matt. You're doing great, buddy. You're doing great. There will be something to watching Iron Fist because you'll take the good and the bad from
Sure,
it.
exactly.
Because there's been interviews with Finn Jones where he's defending the choreography and defending the character of Danny Rand, who was a controversial character. People didn't like. He wasn't super likable. It's like, and to see what people are talking about, you got to watch Iron Fist,
Right.
and then you'll be able to compare Danny Rand in Iron Fist versus
In
Danny Rand in
Defenders.
the Defenders. And there's something to that. So like, yeah, maybe just suffer through some shit.
If you ever
so
hear
that,
people just constantly mocking him, going, "I'm Danny Rand, I'm Danny Rand," you have to watch Iron
Oh,
Fist to
boy.
understand
Yeah. Oh, boy.
why people kept going, "I'm
Yeah.
Danny Rand,
I'm
I'm
gonna
Danny
need
Rand."
a lot more soju. A lot more soju. Hector,
Yeah.
you're all over that soju again.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers. Thank you for the
Cheers.
introduction to
Of
the
course,
soju.
man.
That's right. There we go. But tonight we're talking news. Let's get into it.
Ooh, so much. Guys, Obi-Wan Kenobi, is he finally going to get a standalone movie? There was some breaking news today from the Hollywood Reporter saying that it is in fact happening finally. It's a rumor that's been going around for, I think, years at this point.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor has expressed interest that he would love to do it if Lucasfilm asked him to do it. I think it's something that most fans have wanted. When they announced Han Solo, I feel like most fans were like, whatever. But when you say Obi-Wan Kenobi, everyone is literally like, yes!
Well,
including me.
it lines up. Like Han
Yes.
Solo meant you need to recast.
Yep.
Right.
But Obi-Wan, everybody already knows who that character was from the prequels up to when he's stationed on Tatooine.
Yeah.
And then everybody knows him as Old Ben Kenobi in Episode 4 and when
Right.
he dies. So like there's still something you could do with that character in
so
between
you're
there.
talking about the gray area people don't know about.
The gray area, and it's been explored a little bit in like comics recently
Rebels.
and Star Wars Rebels. So he's in that. So like he doesn't just sit there and age, is what I'm being told by the hardcore Star Wars fans like Adam. Like he goes and does shit or does shit on Tatooine,
Okay.
and he's seeing young Luke be raised, and there, you know what I mean? Like, and so there's something you could do with that.
I tweeted about this because I was asking, like, haven't we basically got that with the prequel? Was it that Episode
Sure,
1?
sure.
You know, when they said Obi-Wan Kenobi's getting a standalone. Now, of course, it's like, what are we going to get that we haven't seen?
Sure.
You know, that's the thing you have
the
to
question.
sell people on.
Yeah.
Of course, to hear Obi-Wan Kenobi's getting a standalone film sounds great in retrospect.
Yeah.
But when you've already had the prequels,
Yeah.
and Episode 1 was basically the Obi-Wan prequel and the Anakin Skywalker prequel mixed.
Yeah.
It's like, what more do you have to flesh out?
You know what it reminds me of? It's like X-Men First Class. X-Men First Class, you know where the characters of Eric Lensher and Charles Xavier end up because you've seen the other X-Men movies where they're old men. So, and that's a problem with every prequel. You know where those characters end up. So what is that story going to be? With X-Men First Class, and then thankfully, I thought I was over prequels, but then they did Rogue One, and I really liked it. I really liked Rogue One. I thought there was dope shit in there. But the thing with X-Men First Class is they showed young Eric Lenscher hunting down Nazis in Argentina, and I was like, sold. And it's like, even though we know where that character ends up as an old man, there's some cool stuff.
the journey.
There's
I was
some cool
actually
stuff to
nervous
do.
about that one because they were saying at first before we got X-Men First Class,
Yeah.
they were going to do a standalone Magneto origin
Yes.
film.
Which I was stoked about, but
No,
I'm happy that
you
they were
were?
able to. Yeah,
I was
because
like, yo, who wants to see Schindler's List with mutants?
yeah,
Because that's all
it could
his
have.
movie would have been.
It could have been that.
Yeah.
It could have. It's he's a really, really, obviously a very
hunting the
deep
hunter.
and sad and realistic and
Yes.
depressing character who has this like beautiful thing that he goes through, and he survived this one of the worst atrocities humans have ever done. But it's this thing where like to see some of that. It's one thing to see the opening sequence in the first X-Men movie where he's a little child, which is powerful, but it's also a PG-13 movie. It's not Schindler's List. They don't go into the Holocaust,
Right.
And then he's an old man, and that's enough for you to go, you know what? I can't disagree with Magneto when he hates humans,
Right.
But to actually see some of that shit would be really, really powerful. I'm with you though, Jay. I'm glad that they didn't give him his own movie, that they just blended some of those scenes
Right, because
into Charles's
2
story.
hours of that would have been
Rough.
way
Rough.
too much.
Yeah.
So with Obi-Wan Kenobi, you could maybe do something that different, or that it's like, again, we know where the character ends up, but what is he messing with the Hutts? Is he
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, what is he doing on Tatooine?
Well, I think an interesting thing about Obi-Wan Kenobi, because as we see him sort of being in the prime of his Jedi, he's mostly just interacting with other Jedi. He doesn't interact with political figures too much. He doesn't interact with non-force powered users too much. And I think with this story, it's really interesting because he is in hiding. He has to keep his identity secret.
Yeah.
He's learning about the afterworld of the Force from Qui-Gon Jinn. We know that from Episode 3. How is he communicating with Qui-Gon Jinn? How is he communicating with Yoda? How is he also
they could bring back
dealing-
Liam Neeson.
Right. How is he also
Wow.
dealing with being in a world where he's kind of one of the last one of his kind?
Sure.
And he's hiding out in a sense.
He's hiding out, and also I think it gives an opportunity to sort of build up the relationship that he has with Owen and Beru. What are sort of like the tug
Those
of
smaller
wars?
things. I mean, if you're gonna go that way, it opens up perfect doors for that. You take those smaller storylines we don't know about. You're like, well, maybe what happens?
Yeah.
But the only problem I see, and a lot of people may disagree, is if they're smaller storylines, how do you stretch those out to the point where you don't overstretch them out?
Right.
Yeah. What's the story going to be?
Right. What's the overall story? Where are we going with this?
Where we can see some of those relationships, but what's the story
What's
going
the
to be?
story
Right.
gonna
Yeah.
be?
Yeah, and that I guess right now that's the toughest part is, and I think for me too, I was really hoping that instead of being a movie, it would be a Netflix series like a 5 or HBO or something where it's like a 5, 6, 7 episode kind of mini series, and delving more into these relationships. But I think at the end of the day, it is like, what's the mission?
Right.
What's Obi-Wan's mission in this movie? Is he protecting kyber crystals on Tatooine? Like what is the point of him? What is the point of his existence? Is the Empire, on the hunt for other Jedi? Like, I think that's the biggest question right now is what is he going to do in this movie? Because it's an 18-year span that we don't see that character.
I mean, that's a long time. So, yes, of course, there's a lot you can talk about from 18 years, but it's figuring out the right storyline
Yeah.
to do it. And hopefully you don't, because it's 18 years, hopefully you don't have it where we'll take one film and then we say we can do another prequel behind that.
Yeah,
another.
it needs to be a one and done.
It's just it needs to be a one-off.
Yeah.
So.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, and with Han Solo, the news coming out, whatever the story is going to be, whatever we know, whatever we don't know, the production issues, I still think that Obi-Wan Kenobi makes more sense as something that, because again, there's no recasting necessary.
No.
And
No,
you've
no.
told me, Adam, that Ewan McGregor really likes that character and that he
Loves
would
him.
play him again. You look at Han Solo, you look at Rogue One, you look at Obi-Wan Kenobi as the movies are doing in between the regular Star Wars movies, and you can cynically look at those and go, it's a cash grab, it's Disney, kind of taking the easy route. Rogue One even is a bit of an easy route because all the characters die at the end. They're not trying to sort of set up a new thing, and I think that because knowing that all the characters die at the end, they didn't necessarily build up some of those characters in ways that they would have built up a Yoda or an Obi-Wan Kenobi or a Han Solo. But having said that, I feel like looking at the talent involved and Ewan McGregor, I feel like this decision can absolutely lead to like a good movie and creative people that actually want to do a really cool story, as opposed to still really seeming like a cash grab. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt like with Han Solo, it still feels like a cash
Of
grab,
course
even
it
up to this
is.
point. Even after hearing some of the casting news, I think the most excited we've gotten at him is when they were like Donald Glover as Lando,
Yep.
and I'm like, that's amazing. It's still, it's still Disney going.
It's called
give us,
Disney going, how much can we pull out of this?
how much can we pull out
because
of this?
some
Yeah.
people, let's just be honest, some people will treat Star Wars like we treat Marvel or DC. No matter what it is, they're going to go see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to go see it.
Guilty.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it's also, you want Disney to make sure they're putting out Disney and Lucasfilms put out a good product.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't just say for the sake of it, we can put something out, and so that's what we're going to do. People will go see it regardless. Put something out that has substance, that makes people want to go, that makes people into it, and it ties into the rest of them, and you don't have to stretch and drag this out for so long.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, when they finally announced what Rogue One was about these rebel spies
Great
going
idea.
to take the plans back for the Death Star, everyone got excited about it
Because it's a
It was
great
cool
story.
concept.
It's a cool concept.
With Obi-Wan Kenobi, everyone is excited about it. With Han Solo, that's the one movie that people are like, do we need it?
Like,
Do we
And
need
I
it?
love the character, but yeah, man,
Same.
you gotta find that story.
Yeah,
So,
I'm pretty impressed with the talent that they have lined up for us. Stephen Daldry, he's the EP on The Crown, which is on Netflix.
Cool.
I've seen a few episodes of that show. It's really, really well done. It's been up for a bunch of Emmys. He was also Oscar nominated for The Reader, Billy Elliot, and The Hours, 2001, 2003, and 2009. So this is a guy, obviously, who is very talented. So to have a talented director, filmmaker like that, who's potentially going to come on, help them develop it, maybe help write it with the Lucasfilm sort of think tank, and then direct it, I mean, I think it's a really good choice. Also, it should be noted that this is just in talks. This is very early discussions. This could literally not happen.
Yeah.
And we keep hearing about Obi-Wan Kenobi. It is and it isn't. It is and it isn't.
I hate the fact that that's the one big issue behind it. It's not official.
No,
it's
it's
in
not at all.
talks. I don't even think this news should have came out.
No.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Unless it was on purpose because they're trying to test the waters.
You're trying to, yeah,
you
makes
know,
sense.
it's
Yeah.
Disney could still change their mind and not do it if all the internet just went, no, don't do it. But it seems like it's pretty positive for the most part, and it's,
I think so.
and I feel
Yeah, for
like
the most
everybody's definitely leaning into don't do it unless you can bring back Ewan McGregor. There's obviously no point.
No
Don't bring
Ewan,
in
no
some
thank
other
you.
actor that's like
Right.
gonna play an older than Ewan but younger than Alec Guinness. It's like no,
It's
just
like,
have
no,
Ewan
no.
do it.
Well, and they also did mention that this is one of several movies that they're developing along with a Yoda and a Boba Fett movie. I will tell you right now, I don't want a Yoda movie and I don't want a Boba Fett movie. Obi-Wan Kenobi is the only character that I wanted to
character.
stand
You said that before.
Why would we need a Yoda movie?
You know what my pitch
Yeah.
is? Instead of doing a Yoda movie, make a movie that's Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Instead of setting it 1,000 years before, maybe do it 700, where
Right.
Yoda is 100 years old and he's
Yeah.
in the Jedi Academy trying to find his
yeah.
footing.
That would be
And
cool.
he only has like one or two short little scenes.
but there's other characters,
But
and
it's all
yeah,
based on
totally,
brand new characters,
totally.
the
Yeah.
Sith and the Jedi, this ancient time.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a really cool movie. I think that's part of the problem I think people have too with these spin-offs is we need to start getting away from the Skywalker sort of timeline.
Yeah, you keep bringing it because they feel like no one will attach themselves to these projects unless it has the Skywalker
Right.
family.
Yeah,
Right.
And
it feels like.
I don't think that's true. I think you've shown you can go other routes. People want you to go other routes. Please try some. Again, Rogue One basically went another route.
Totally.
Go another route. It doesn't have to go back to Luke, Leia, Han Solo,
Vader even.
It doesn't have to. You can do so much more.
Yeah.
I remember hearing somebody talk about they wanted a movie about the Hutts. To
Yeah.
see what you can do with that.
I'd be down for that. I really would.
I actually would really love a bounty hunter movie, and if the bounty hunter movie involves the Hutts,
Yep.
Yeah.
perfect, do it.
Outer Rim.
Set it,
Yeah.
set it in, either set it like in between episodes 4 and 5 or 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Or even if you did a bounty hunter movie after the fall of the Empire, there's 32 years of history after Jedi as well. That could be very interesting. Telling a
I
movie from
wanna
the
see-
perspective of the fallen Empire could be cool.
I think I'd want to see a Thrawn movie. A movie based around the character
could do
of Thrawn.
Thrawn. You
You
could
know,
do
it's a bit of a
Thrawn.
prequel still, and it's just his rise and
Yeah.
in the Empire. But I think he's
that's
a good character.
I think that may be part of the issue too. I think people want to get away from doing
From that era? That's
movies
fine.
before episode 4.
That's
I
fine.
think if you told people you're going to do a movie post episode 6,
But before 7,
But
yeah,
before 7,
I think
okay.
that might interest
the
people.
Battle of Jakku. Yeah, do some of that
Battle
shit.
of Jakku. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential. I think the video games may also kind of pique people's interest with that sort of stuff too.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Guys,
we'll
this
see.
next story. I'll drink to that.
Drink to that too.
This next story I'm really excited about. One of my favorite heroes.
Yeah, super excited about this. Stephen Colbert had Daniel Craig on while he was promoting
Yeah.
Logan Lucky, and he asked him, you've been doing all these interviews. People have been asking you about Bond. You've been a little coy about it. You haven't really said anything about it. People have been asking and asking. Are you going to come back as James Bond?
will you return as James Bond?
Yes.
Thanks so much. Daniel Craig, everybody.
Should I leave now?
He's coming back. He's going to do Bond 25, which currently has a release date of November 8th, 2019. There's no director. We've got Neil Purvis and Robert Wade doing the script. They've been involved with Casino Royale, Spectre, what are the other two? Skyfall and Quantum of Solace.
Yep.
I'm super excited. I know one of the first interviews he did after he did that movie, the last movie, Spectre, people asked him, like, are you going to do another Bond? And he was like, I'd rather slit my wrists than play Bond again. And it's understandable. I mean, I feel like
Those movies are a lot of work, dude.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like he suffered the same thing that Ben Affleck did when Ben Affleck was promoting Live by Night, and everybody was asking about Batman.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just want to talk about this movie that I made.
I think it's hard when you become such a popular character.
Yes.
And granted, you have another project coming out. I think it's just difficult. No one before Logan could talk to Hugh Jackman about anything but being Wolverine.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, nobody could talk to him about anything. Henry Cavill has Mission Impossible 6 getting ready to come out pretty soon. Nobody's going to talk to him about that. They're going to talk about what's going on with Superman.
Right.
Yep.
Where's the sequel?
Where's the sequel? Where's the Man of Steel sequel?
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's a time-consuming process being James Bond.
Yeah.
It's physically taxing, but
There's
it's
some major
rewarding.
perks.
It's rewarding
Yeah,
and it
man.
works.
Yeah.
So for him to say he's going to go ahead and be attached to it, because of course everybody was saying who should be the new Bond.
Right.
They're like, look, let's just drop all that who should be the new Bond rumors.
Yeah.
We have Bond.
Exactly.
And the good news is too is that little interview with Colbert. Colbert was really, really respectful, and I felt like he did a good job of speaking for the fans of James Bond by being
Yeah.
excited that he said yes.
Daniel Craig.
And Daniel Craig was also enthusiastic and smiling and happy, and it seemed like there was a moment where Daniel Craig, the actor, the man, the human being, understood, recognized, realized that like this character does mean a lot to a lot of people, and Colbert kind of like exemplified that for a second, and there was a nice little like, yes, this is good, and he seemed happy about it and excited and passionate.
I feel like the audience, you don't get to see the audience, but it almost sounded like they gave him a
You
standing
can hear
ovation.
it.
Yeah,
They
you
were
could
loud,
hear
and
it.
he
You
was
could
like,
hear it.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I'm stoked because Skyfall is my favorite Bond movie of all time. And Daniel Craig's my favorite Bond, and I think the past 4 movies are fantastic. There's ups and downs with them. Casino Royale obviously is a highlight. Skyfall's a highlight, and that's why I'm glad he's coming back, because Spectre is not the best Bond movie to end on, not the best note to end on.
Yeah, you want to do something. Yeah.
I think that Bond 25, and it's Bond 25. That's a big deal
crazy.
too, right? The 25th James Bond film. I think just like any Bond movie, it has the potential to be the best one yet. I really do believe that. So like, it would be dope if Bond 25 came out and it was the best one, and that was Daniel Craig's last movie, and everybody loved it, and done. You know what I mean? That'd be great.
We'd be comfortable with that.
That'd be great. Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't ask for anything. Like you said, you have Casino Royale, which was arguably his best. Quantum of Solace is decent. Skyfall, good. Spectre, you're like, well, no, Spectre than Skyfall.
No, it's Skyfall.
Skyfall and Spectre, excuse me. Spectre, you were like, I remember going to see Spectre, and I was like, I'm going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I hate when I have to go to the restroom in a movie theater. And I went. And I went to ask my boys, I was like, did I miss anything? They were like, no.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
So you don't want to end on that note. But again, even if he did, hypothetically, if Daniel Craig said, I'm just not doing it, could we be mad at him?
No, man. I have a little collection of his 4 Bond movies in a slim little Blu-ray set up on my shelf. You know what I mean? Like, I love those. Like, I'm fine. I'm set. But I'm honestly kind of pissed that I got to rebuy that now. Next time he comes out with all 5, like, I'll do that too. But I'll happily do it because I love the character and I really like those movies. So.
Yeah, I feel like ever since he started playing Bond, every other movie has been really good. Casino Royale was really good. Then the Quantum of Solace is okay. Like you were saying, Skyfall was really good. And Spectre I didn't really like that much. So I'm hoping that if this is his final one, if this 5th movie is the final one, go big. Do a story that is obviously really, really good on the levels of Casino Royale and Skyfall. If that's the ending of Daniel Craig's Bond like tenure,
I'm sure it will
I'm
be.
totally happy with it. Where do they go next, though, if that's the end? Do you reboot it or do you just continue it?
I think you reboot it. I think you reboot it, and I think that we're past just recasting the character and like kind of doing little sly, winks, like the way that they did with George Lazenby back in the day, or the way, I think you're past that, and I think that the character is interesting enough and important enough that it deserves just a straight up reboot. Right, that this character deserves that, so that the next actor can come in and be like, "This isn't Daniel Craig's character, right? This is your own thing. You're gonna have a new M. You're gonna have a new Moneypenny.
I think that's the best way to do it. Give the new Bond, whoever's the next Bond behind him, give him a fresh start, or her,
absolutely,
or her,
absolutely,
give them a fresh start.
Yeah.
God
reboot
damn,
it.
that would
Let
be
them,
awesome.
let them bring their own element to it, and then the actors that follow them can see if they want to follow that mold or go beyond. You know what I'm saying? Because we've always had, like you said, we've always had this same type of bond. You know exactly what you're getting. Now it's time for a little bit of a switch up. Not much.
I think they tried that with Skyfall, where they were like, let's actually explore his character by like, let's go into his backstory a little bit. To mixed results, and they kept going in Spectre, where they're like, ooh, his brother when he was a kid and adopted ends up being, Blofeld, the evil.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that was a little Austin Powersy in Goldmember, like
and it was
a little
just
much.
drawn out too long.
It was drawn out too long, but I think you're right, Jay. Like, figure something out where we know the formula of Bond, and it's one of the best movie formulas of all time. But switch it up. Where does it mean we go into the character more? Does it mean we go into the plot, make it more realistic? Does it mean we go less realistic? Whatever the answer is for the next Bond, we'll get there when we get there.
Right.
But I think that a big part of it would be to try and find what is the essence of Bond and switch it up so that it's not a white male actor playing the role, whether that means woman. I still think you could make a 007 film, a James Bond movie with a, Jamie Bond. Yeah. Whether it means a black guy, person of color, obviously you could still make James Bond with a Middle Eastern actor or a black actor or whatever. And honestly, as long as the character is British, that's obviously key.
That has to be
that's
the
key. But that's going to be fun to think about that shit when we get to that. You make that kind of movie, but incorporate some of that stuff, but it's still Bond. Like, that's fun.
Plus, when you do that and you diversify Bond from being just a white guy and he is Middle Eastern or he is black or Asian or whatever it is, as long as he's British, you can also kind of play that into the story.
Yes.
What sort of things does that allow the character to kind of do?
As being a spy, because we know the typical James Bond is a white male.
Yeah.
So he blends in easily.
Yeah.
But if you have a Middle Eastern James Bond, he's British.
Now where can he go?
Now where does
Maybe
he
he goes to the Middle East all the time. Maybe he, you know what I mean? Like,
I think that just opens the world up a little bit.
Yeah,
more.
absolutely.
And I think that's really interesting. I'm so curious to see what happens to where this series goes. I know Christopher Nolan has been asked multiple times about doing a Bond movie. He's very enthusiastic about it. I think he would be a great choice.
Yeah.
I think that would be it's surreal to see.
It would be really cool. I do think the one thing with Christopher Nolan, because he is so rooted in reality, is that something that we're going to want, or do we want them to have a little bit of suspension of disbelief? Not like he can't do it. I mean, he made Batman movies.
I know, and there was definitely suspension of disbelief in those. Maybe a little bit of both. I think that with the reaction to Spectre, which went a little bit sillier and more fun, pull that back and go back to Skyfall, go back to Casino Royale, where it is trying to be a realistic Bond. Do Bond 25 as like a realistic... proves itself as like, this is a franchise that needs to be around, and then you're out. And then for the next one, if we switch it up, we switch it up.
Yeah.
Right.
But this last one, let's go back a little bit more to Skyfall, Casino Royale.
Yeah. I agree.
I agree with you, sir. I
agree
with you, sir.
Back on the Batman train. Here we go.
I'm drinking to that part.
So Ben Affleck was recently interviewed with Entertainment Weekly talking about sort of the character and the tone and where we can kind of expect to see Batman in the Justice League movie. Now, I think Batman was sort of met with mostly positive, but also some mixed reviews as to kind of the character that he was.
Sure.
Obviously being a bit more brooding, a bit more violent, killing people, and all that kind of stuff. And I think for people who are traditionally used to Batman in the comic books being sort of heroic, even though he is sort of dark, he is still heroic at the end of the day. I think this was kind of an interesting turn because we had a Batman who was a 20-year veteran, and he brought a lot of baggage into this universe.
Yes.
So the interesting thing that Ben Affleck says about this character in this movie, he talks about Batman he's put in the position of having to reach out when he's talking about the Justice League members.
Justice League, yeah.
Find other people, convincing them to do something. Part of the drama of the movie is the question of whether or not the team is going to come together. It's very different from the tenor of the last movie.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see kind of where this Batman goes. And he also talks about some of the other things that, he brings a lot of baggage because he witnesses Superman and General Zod more or less destroying Metropolis, killing a lot of his co-workers. So I think a lot of that stuff that character brought to the movie was justified from the beginning of that movie. I'm now interested to see what is the thing that brings that character sort of back to what he was traditionally.
And I think a question that you could also play into that, in the same way that Man of Steel came out, and it was the vision of the director, the writer, the producers, everybody who was involved, and people reacted one way or the other to Man of Steel. They used that for Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, where they're like, okay, you felt that there was too much destruction, opening scene, and we're going to speak to that. And that's why people dislike Superman in this world, and then go from there. I think that it'll be interesting to see if they'll do the same thing with the response to Batman v Superman in 2016. Will the story be about, can Batman be redeemed? He was a character who killed people, who killed criminals. He branded them, killed them. This is somebody who is going to be a founding member of the Justice League, a superhero, to lead the way, to part of the
Well, hypothetically, Superman killed people too.
Yeah.
And Batman, remember when Lois was trapped in the desert with the terrorists?
Right.
He blew dude through a wall.
Yeah.
And if you think dude survived going through that wall from Superman, it's an issue. But
and he was supposed to, like, and that's the thing, is that the movie left it ambiguous on purpose because that was the themes of that film. If he were supposed to live, the movie didn't show you him alive, but instead told you afterwards, oh, those gangsters that Lex Luthor hired killed those people. Like, to make it all, everybody's framing Superman, everybody's framing Batman, everybody's doing all this stuff to make it so that Batman hates Superman so that we're able to fight. But, and Batman was mad at, as Ben Affleck says, the fact that his co-workers died. Some fans were saying, well, Batman's in the spot because he had a Robin that died. That's part of it. Ben Affleck didn't necessarily say that for this reasoning, but that's also part of the reason of, like, can this character who killed people and then wanted to destroy the Superman character because he was overpowered and was, to him, killing people, can he be on the other side of that? Can he redeem himself and be on that side of the argument where he's like, well, I don't kill people anymore, and this is why? And are we going to have that moment with that character? In the way that Ben Affleck's saying, he's going to be a more traditional sort of comic book version of, instead of the Dark Knight Returns version of Batman, which was in a different place, and, it was in a different place for the purposes of the movie Batman v Superman. So it's going to be really interesting. I think
there's going to be more humor with this Batman.
Yeah.
The first teaser trailer we saw.
What's your superpower again?
Yeah, the interactions with him and
rich.
Flash.
I'm
rich.
Great.
You know it's going to be more humorous. You're going to have Diana have him being lighthearted because it started happening in Batman v Superman, the interactions with Bruce and Diana.
Yeah.
I think that's the tone he's shifting to. Of course, bringing the team together. Hell, Jason Momoa's Aquaman, even though he looks mean as hell, it seems like he cracks a few jokes.
Yeah.
There. So it's like you
yeah.
can tell what the tone of the movie is, and it shifts to the characters. Yeah, you're going to have Flash, who's the quirky little kid who's just like, oh, they do that, huh?
Yeah.
They really do that.
Yep.
Cyborg, I pray to God they finally give him some personality because in all the stuff we've seen, he's just been bland.
I would love to see him less Cyborg in the New Teen Titans, where he was this young, angry black man because of the accident he'd been through, and more Cyborg from the Teen Titans cartoon show.
That's what I've been telling everybody. He has fun.
Carrie Payton plays him.
Yeah.
From The Walking Dead, he plays King Ezekiel, and Carrie's been voicing him for years, and like he has fun, and he has a great relationship with Beast Boy, and he's a great relationship. So it's like that version of the character I would love to see, and it makes sense for what the Justice League is. It's this big action, packed blockbuster ensemble team.
It's an adventure movie.
It's an adventure movie. These are not the movies where it's like a character piece. It's this big ensemble. I'm thinking of like Alex Ross comic books where all the characters are coming in and doing one thing and bouncing out. It's not the one where you kind of stop, and that's not what Avengers movies are either. They try to give Tony Stark some stuff to do, but he explores that shit in his own movie, Iron Man 3. He explores that shit later. So it's going to be interesting to see, and I think that either way it's a win-win, because whatever the tonal shift, and we're being told that they are shifting the tone from the previous films, one of two things: either it's a reaction or it was planned all along, or what the fans are going to say. It doesn't matter what the reasoning for it is, as long as it's a movie that comes out that people enjoy or that you personally enjoy, then that's what matters. If Justice League comes out and it's awesome, the fans of the DCEU from the beginning to that point are going to say, this is how it's always supposed to be. And people that haven't been fans or that have issues with other films or didn't love them as much, they're going to say,
finally,
cool, this is what I wanted it to be. So
it's a win-win.
It's a
either
win-win.
way.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super. I mean, and going back to what you were saying about Batman killing, I know that the number one comment that everyone's going to leave is, but he's killed in other movies. That's not the point, though. The point is that they're building
He's
a
killed
universe.
in comics. That's not the point either.
Right. Now that they have the opportunity to build a Batman in a shared universe with all these other superheroes, the point is to establish and do things differently than they've done before. And to not have your characters killed when they don't have to.
Exactly. Just real quick to speak on that, everybody likes different things about different characters, and each character has different versions of its own character. You can ask somebody, who's your favorite superhero? They'll say Wonder Woman, but they will be specifically talking about, well, I really like the George Perez Wonder Woman from the the 80s comic book reboot. Like, it's different from other versions of that same character. The same with Batman. I
And
happen to think, and of course, all of these characters had been around for 70 plus years. I happen to think that one of the rules for me to enjoy Batman, for me, myself, is one of the best rules is that this character doesn't kill. It doesn't just justify silly things like Batarang, which is, I think, one of the original reasons they designed the character to not kill, because somebody somewhere along the way was like, wait, why doesn't this guy just use a gun? Why does he have Batarangs? Oh, because his parents were killed by guns, so he hates guns. It's kind of silly, but I love that. And I think that for me, my favorite Batman stories are where this character is used in a way that he is not realistic. He's not Superman. He's like Superman in that he is so powerful. Batman is so powerful that he will always be able to do the right thing and solve the issue in the Batman way, even though he's a human with no powers. Do you know what I mean? And that's because of his ingenuity and his determination, which is my favorite hallmark of the character. If you're determined in doing something, you will be able to accomplish it, is the message I take from Batman. And his determination in not using lethal weapons and always being better than the criminals that he's beating the crap out of every night in Gotham City. He will never kill the Joker, no matter what the Joker does.
Right.
And I like that. And there are some fans that go, that's idiotic. And I get that because, of course, in the real world, yes, it would be idiotic.
Yeah.
Of course,
In
the
the
real
real
world,
world,
when the
yes.
Joker were captured once, he wouldn't be sent to Arkham. You would put him on trial and find him guilty of, multiple murder.
Maximum security, or they put him on death row.
He would be
They
put
put him
to
on
death.
death row for
Like,
sure.
Yeah.
I get it, but again, these characters are not living in our world. They are stories
It's a
that are
fantasy.
supposed to teach
Right.
lessons, and I like the lesson of he will never stoop to that level.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way that Superman is so powerful that his only weakness is that he can't be everywhere at once. And that to me is interesting because it's all about choice. He hears this thing on this side of the city, he hears this thing on this side of the city, he's going to go save
do I
this
go?
person.
Yeah.
So it's like when you kind of break that stuff down. So that's one of my personal rules. It's not everybody's rule. I've had this conversation with people that are like, no, it makes sense for Batman to kill. I'm like, totally, I get it. But I can also read Punisher comics, and I get a lot of that same. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I
Yes.
love
He's a
Frank
character.
Castle,
It's- they're both
and I
full of
love
vengeance.
and I love that he kills because then he's having arguments with Daredevil on a rooftop.
Yep.
And that's interesting shit. So, but I just categorize my characters and what they do in different stuff. So, again, it's not to say that one way or the other is wrong, but I think that generally speaking, whenever this character was designed after years and years and years and years and years and years, some of the rules that they landed on were like, well, he's this, he's this, he's this. He doesn't kill because of these reasons. He was traumatized by the event of a gun. He does, all this kind of stuff. And I think that those are my personal favorite versions of that character. And there are others, but again, a lot of times when people cite those, it's like, well, that was a one-off, or that was an alternate universe, or that was in 1939 when he hadn't solidified into the character that he became
Superman
today.
was a villain when he was first
Superman was a villain.
Right.
Superman couldn't fly. He just leapt tall buildings.
Buildings.
Green Lantern was a blonde guy named Alan Scott whose weakness was wood. If you're going to be a hardcore comic book fanatic, you're going to be mad that they didn't do that version of Green Lantern
Exactly.
first. You know what I mean?
Hey, man,
And
I'm
it's like,
still mad at that version of the movie, but that's
yeah,
not here nor there.
Exactly. So it all depends on what you like, but
Right.
I think that it's interesting to see Affleck say this version will become a more sort of regular Batman.
Allow the character
that
to
you get.
evolve. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Allow him to evolve one way or another. Again, 20 years, yeah, he can be one way, but he can evolve to another, and he's going to evolve that way being a part of a team. He's the leader of a team now.
Definitely.
He has to bring all these special beings, these metahumans together. Let him evolve.
Yeah.
We don't know. We know what Justice League is. Cool. We don't know where they go after Justice League.
Yeah.
We have ideas because of what they're talking about doing Flashpoint. We know Wonder Woman 2 is gonna happen. We know Aquaman's coming up. We have ideas.
Justice League 2 at some
Justice
point.
League 2.
Yeah.
The Batman.
Yeah.
So there are different things we could hear. Again, he's supposed to fight Deathstroke. Now, can he still be this lighthearted Batman and eventually have this leniency and then still go and fight Deathstroke? Absolutely. Because he becomes conflicted. You were vengeful and you were murdering, but now you have to go against a mercenary.
Yeah.
He can have to revert back. There's potential for that, but let the character be what it is this way. Again, if it's going to go back, if it reverts back, it reverts, but it's got to grow, especially if the DCEU is meant to grow.
Yeah.
The character, if you allow Batman to stay stagnant, and he's supposed to be the focal point, which they're doing with the DCEU.
Yeah.
Because normally Superman is the focal point. But because it's Ben Affleck, they say we're going to make Batman the focal point. He has to evolve. He cannot be stagnant, being the person to ride through this universe.
Or if the rumors that we've heard are true, that they want to make Wonder Woman more of a focal point,
Yes.
then speak to that in the films.
Then speak to it,
have
yes.
the characters actually kind of address that and change and evolve and have really great interactions. And
And I think we're
That's
starting
what
to see
audiences
some
want.
of that too in the trailer where we see her take charge of Don't Attack Alone.
Yeah.
Attack as a team.
Exactly.
You don't hear Batman say that. Granted, he's the one that brings them together. Again, he's supposed to be the focal point.
Yep.
But you hear her take charge.
Yep.
So
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to also see, because of having lost to Robin, how is that sort of going to affect his leadership role on the Justice League? He's going to be very apprehensive to go into this battle. He knows he has to assemble this team together because of the doom that's coming.
How old was Robin when he lost him? Was he much older than Barry Allen and Victor Stone?
Right.
These are two young guys. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. And they've got
Exactly.
powers and it's different, but still, it's like, are they going to speak to that? That's going to be awesome.
I'm excited to
so.
see where the arc of this character goes. And I think we left him in an interesting place where I really liked a lot of what they did with him. There were some things that I wasn't so keen on, but I know that it's the first movie where we have to introduce this character into a world that's been kind of worn and torn. So I'm curious, and I sort of feel like this Batman has also been very sort of hidden from the public eye. A lot of people don't really see him. He's lingering around. He only makes appearances when he needs to. In the beginning of the last trailer, they talk about like, where's the Batman? He hasn't been seen. He hasn't been around. So I'm kind of curious to see if he takes a more sort of front and center role, or if he kind of still hangs back in the shadows, assembles the team, and then maybe they do bring up Wonder Woman, or maybe Superman gets built up by the end of the movie.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot of potential
Is
with
there going to be a press conference that the Justice League puts on to ease the public, and will Batman be there? Like
Right.
that's
is the Justice League in broad daylight, though?
exactly.
Yeah, right.
I don't
Exactly.
know. Some of the
Hi,
shots of the trailer.
I am
yeah.
the Gotham Bat,
yeah.
and I speak to you, citizens of
Yeah.
Earth. Like, whoa, wait, this is really awkward.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll see.
my God.
We
Yeah,
have a
we'll
black
find
guy.
out.
We have a black guy who's half metal.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. We'll find out. We'll find out. Moving over to the world of Marvel, we're talking about Captain Marvel, of course, is
drink to
getting
that.
a new writer. Deadline was reporting that Geneva Robertson Dworet will be taking over the scripting duties for Marvel's Captain Marvel. Meg Lefeuve, who did Inside Out and The Good Dinosaur, and Nicole Perlman, who did Guardians of the Galaxy with
Yep.
James Gunn. They were originally set to write the script, but I guess because Lefeuve is leaving because she's going to go do a movie at Disney called Gigantic.
Cool.
No, but there's no word as to what Nicole Perlman's involvement is going to be,
Okay.
if any at all. Robertson Dworet wrote the Tomb Raider reboot. She was also at one point a part of the Transformers sort of writers' room.
Yeah, but who wasn't? Am I right?
Right, exactly, exactly. That was
3-year-olds.
like 3 years ago as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she is still involved. But she's also supposed to be writing the script for Gotham City Sirens, which
Great.
David Ayer is directing, and Margot Robbie is executive producing. We don't know where in the timeline that is.
It doesn't need to happen at all. That's a whole nother
How
story.
do you guys feel about this kind of change in writing? So she is
It's a good reason it's changing. It's
Yeah.
not a bad
Yeah.
reason. No one's being kicked out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like you heard a writer being fired.
Sure.
We hear, let's be honest, we heard Lord and Miller got removed from Star
Yeah.
Wars to
Right.
be replaced by Ron Howard.
Yeah.
We're not hearing you're being removed and replaced.
Right.
Which leads me to believe, like we talked about this in the last episode, this just seems like it's one of two things. Either Meg or Nicole Perlman, who did Guardians of the Galaxy, and Meg Lefauve, I don't know, who did Inside Out, which I loved, and The Good Dinosaur, which I didn't love, but it was okay. It's either they didn't do such a great job, so they're bringing in this, or the second option, this is just how Hollywood works, and you bring in other writers to
Time
do
for a
different.
new pass.
Either one is kind of like, I feel like this is just how Hollywood works a little bit, like if certain writers didn't do a great job, just bringing in a new writer, that's what you're gonna do.
And now with Robertson Dworet, however you pronounce her last name, excuse me, she's writing for something a part of a universe in Gotham City Sirens. Nicole Perlman, excuse me, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
They know what the universe, the
Yep.
connectivity idea is. Again, if Nicole Perlman is still a part of this,
Yeah.
she understands it's part of something bigger.
Yes.
We don't know if now, of course, they said we're going to get various universes where you're going to have the regular cinematic universe, you're getting the cosmic universe, you're going to get the quantum verse and things like that. We don't know exactly where Captain Marvel is falling in just yet, but they know what to do.
Yeah.
They have the format, if you will. They have
And
the outline behind it.
My favorite thing about this news is, Adam, you wrote down right here that two of Geneva Robertson Dworet's scripts are featured on the blacklist, which is awesome. It's a list of unproduced scripts that everybody acknowledges, like, damn, these scripts are really fucking good, and they haven't been produced yet. So
Yeah, and she's a really big sci-fi fan, and obviously Captain Marvel is sort of a sci-fi fantasy film.
Yeah.
She's going to be fighting the Skrulls. So I think having that sort of approach to it, being very well versed in sci-fi, having a lot of that research and that sort of knowledge behind you, I think that's a huge plus to write a story like Captain Marvel,
I agree.
which will
I
be
agree.
very sci-fi fantasy heavy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's set in the 90s. I didn't know they were setting this one in the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh
set in
yeah,
the
you didn't have
90s.
news from Comic-Con, Jay? They
I didn't get that news. I
Yep.
didn't get the haul again.
with a young Nick Fury.
Again.
yeah.
I wasn't able to get into that crowded Hall H.
Oh yes, same.
So-
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I didn't hear that it was set in the 90s.
So here's what we know: it's Sam Jackson's reprising his role as Nick Fury, but he will be probably a little digitized because he's been playing himself in the
With
90s.
two eyes.
He will have two eyes.
Okay.
My speculation is we're going to get the origin of how he loses
eye.
the use of one eye.
Yeah.
Right. Carol Danvers will be somebody who's in the Air Force or the Army in the 1990s, gets her powers probably from some Kree thing, and then fights the Skrulls either here or in space or both. Like on
Okay.
Earth, and the Skrulls, and that all still checks out because the Skrulls are shape-shifting
Right.
aliens that can take the appearance of humans
abilities.
and abilities. So like, there's probably gonna be a lot of her fighting just people that are secretly green aliens
that we
will
won't know just
remain
yet.
exactly that we'll just know. And it all is, since it takes place in the 90s, Marvel is going to be able to do the same thing that Warner Brothers did. They pointed to Wonder Woman and went, "That's technically our first superhero, is a female superhero of this universe." Before
Okay,
you
that
know what I
makes
mean?
sense.
And
That
Marvel's
makes
going to be able to point to this and go, hey, our first superhero, even before Iron Man, was Captain Marvel. Girl power. It's a woman, and they'll be able to do that.
Captain America and Captain Marvel.
And not just that, but people are already putting this together. They're putting two and two together. End post-credit scene of Iron Man 1. Nick Fury shows up. You think you're the only superhero in the universe? He's talking about Captain Marvel.
He's already talking about Captain Marvel.
Now there's going to be even more ramifications for the 2-3 sentences he said. It's not just he's hinting at Thor. It's not just he's hinting at whatever.
Hulk,
He
yeah.
was like, "No, I know that there's a bigger universe. There's aliens. I fought him in the 90s. I lost my eye. Captain Marvel is gone or for some reason, and the movie will be
Okay,
the
that
explanation
makes
of that."
sense.
So that's all that shit's awesome, and it's just exciting that this thing is even happening. So like,
To have that be if that is the actual layout of the way the film goes,
Yeah.
I'm sold on it. I've already been sold.
Sure.
When you say you were finally bringing in Captain Marvel, cool, let's do this.
Yeah.
Little bit apprehensive when they said we're going to change how she gets her abilities a little bit.
Okay.
It's like, why? Because it's too much like the Green Lantern. No, it's not. You can
Yeah.
do what she does.
Yeah.
But whatever. And now that I hear all this, I'm more into it than I was before.
Sold.
Awesome.
One ticket for Captain Marvel. Sold.
One
I'll
ticket
drink.
sold.
I'll drink to that next.
Speaking of Nick Fury, apparently he will not be showing up in Avengers Infinity War.
Ah.
He won't be in Avengers 4, and he's apparently not in Black Panther, and he pissed.
I saw this because he says, quote, "I wasn't in a superhero argument movie, Captain America Civil War." He says, "I'm not in Avengers 3 and 4, and they're shooting them now, and they haven't called me yet." This is what Jackson tells Yahoo Movies. Could Samuel L. Jackson just be swerving people?
Very possible.
Yes. And could he still get called? Yes.
Yes.
This movie doesn't come out until May, and it's part 1. He could show up, and they start
Well, no,
shooting
they're on
part
both.
4.
They're on both.
They're on both.
They just started 4.
They
just started 4, which
and
they'll
there's
shoot into next year.
Reshoots have to happen.
For 3.
And I'm sorry, but Nick Fury is not. He's never been the character who is front and center in the action unless the movie's called Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D. You know what I mean? Nick Fury, agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., or
Right.
director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So just like in the past Avengers movies, just like in the past Iron Man 2, whenever he shows up, it's going to be for a scene or two. That could still happen. So I just want to put that out there. I'm still holding out hope that we get a Nick Fury in Avengers Infinity War, because Infinity War is so big. How could you not? How could you not?
Yeah, how could
just
you not have
one.
Nick Fury?
And the
But
next
I'm-
one is
But
they wouldn't let me go to Black Panther.
yeah, Black Pantherville. That's what he calls it. That's great.
That is the part I was like, so,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, how you gonna make a Black Marvel movie and not let Nick Fury show up in it?
Listen, he story wise, he kind of has a point, and just outside of the story wise, but pop culture wise, he absolutely has a
Yeah.
point. That how are you going to make the black superhero Marvel movie and not have Nick Fury,
You would
Sam
rather
Jackson
have
in it?
Everett K. Ross instead of
Nick
Nick
Yeah,
Fury.
yeah.
I just want everybody to think
Good
about
point,
that.
good
Yeah.
I'd rather have Everett K. Ross than Nick Fury in Black
Now-
Pantherville.
Yeah.
Now, again, comic book wise, I got to go to that. What was it? There's a Christopher Priest run of Black Panther where Everett K. Ross was invented. That squirrely white guy who was based on Chandler Bing from Friends to deal with the world of T'Challa, and that shit was hilarious. So like, Everett K. Ross has a reason for being there, comic book story wise, and even Nick Fury, because Nick Fury is Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. He knows about Wakanda. He's gonna know about if there's an Infinity Stone there. Whatever the bigger picture is, Nick Fury's all about the bigger picture. So it doesn't. like, it of course makes sense to me that Nick Fury would deal with and interact with the characters of Wakanda and specifically King T'Challa.
Right.
But even just beyond that, to have Sam Jackson be like, "Come on, man, I'm like the black guy at Marvel. Let me have a cameo," and like I'm kind of like, yeah. I kind of want, like, in the same way that like a Black Widow cameo wouldn't be out of place in Captain Marvel,
Right.
Especially if at the ending of Captain Marvel is she comes back to the present day. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, to just have some kind of acknowledgement of, like,
Maybe
we could see young Natasha in Captain Marvel.
Well, she's still a Russian spy by then.
Yeah.
She's not Black Widow. She's still a part of the KGB.
But she's probably in her teens because on her form it says she was born in like 84.
Okay,
Yeah.
So she would be like 10
she's
years
in
old.
the ballerina school that was she's
Yeah,
training
the
to
Red
be the
Room.
spy.
Oh,
She'd be
yeah.
young. She'd be pretty young.
But again, I
It's not
get
Scarlet,
it.
but somebody else. Yeah.
I think Nick wanted the direct look. I'm here on set. I'm
Sure.
filming.
Sure.
They're like, Sam wanted that. And they're like, yo, look, you're Nick Fury.
Yeah.
What do you really do for the Avengers besides bring them together?
You've assembled them. They're assembled.
They're assembled.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, we're not knocking you, sir.
Yeah.
But you just have a 9mm. Okay. He has a hammer.
Yeah.
Okay. He's not gonna have a hammer anymore.
You have an eye patch.
You have an eye patch. He's got all these metallic suits. There's a dude with wings. Now there's one guy that shrinks.
The guy who gets big.
He gets big too. We still got the soldier who now grows a beard out.
Right.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not a knock to Sam Jackson's Nick Fury
no.
because he's amazing as Nick Fury.
Yeah.
It's just that I get him feeling like he should have been involved in Civil War. I definitely get that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would have loved to see the interaction with Nick Fury and General Ross. Well, now
Totally.
Secretary
Yeah.
Ross.
Totally.
Yeah.
Talking about
Totally.
the Sokovia Accord.
Absolutely.
I would have loved to seen that interaction.
Absolutely.
But we didn't get it because you were setting up the story. You had to do so much.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he supposedly dies in Winter Soldier.
Yes. He's in hiding.
He's in
he's-
hiding.
yeah,
Pops up in Age of
he's-
Ultron for one scene.
He's
Yeah.
he's underground.
He's
Absolutely.
underground, and he doesn't. And he only pops up at Clint's house.
Yeah.
He's not even in the forefront once the real fight happens.
He's off the grid.
He's back off the grid.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, he
that-
shows up at the end of Age of Ultron too with the helicarrier to help
with the
evacuate
heli-
people.
Yeah, but you think it's more so Hill running the helicarrier.
Yeah.
You don't really think it's Fury at the helicarrier because
Yeah.
again, he's gone dark. So I don't know if they didn't remind Sam, hey, this is where your character is now.
I know. And you know what else I think it is I think that for better or worse, Marvel doesn't let its actors, or maybe they do and these actors are just playing coy like Jay said, but like they don't let their actors know what their plan is for 8 years from now.
Well, you can't let Tom Holland know anything for 8 days from now.
Because he will spoil it. And I think it's part of Marvel playing it close to the chest, but also their plans will change because of how that's the nature of the beast, right? Like they might think, let's have Nick Fury go underground. He'll pop up and save the day a little bit in Age of Ultron, but we're gonna have him show up as this sort of like, you know, I'm off the grid and I'm in Avengers Infinity War and I got to tell you some information, and then I'm out, and maybe he'll have his own little secret warriors like they're kind of doing on the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And maybe Maria Hill will become the new director of S.H.I.E.L.D. from her role at Stark Industries, which is where apparently she's working
Yeah,
according
now
to
she's
the end of Age of Ultron, end of Winter
Civil
Soldier.
War.
Winter Soldier is
Winter
where
Soldier,
she
sorry.
doesn't even show up in Civil War. We
Yeah,
haven't
she's
seen
having
her
a-
since
she's
Winter
at a job
Soldier.
interview in Winter Soldier.
She's at
right.
a job interview. So, you know, Marvel has all of these spinning plates, and it's like maybe the plate that they're planning for Nick Fury, I imagine, of course, they're going to bring him back at the end of the story, not just the 90s prequel Captain Marvel, but something, you know, to do with Nick coming back at some point. And at the same time, I think Marvel's also, they establish a character and they're retiring him because Sam Jackson is not going to be able to play this character forever. So why not set
Don't
up
you
this
ever say
character?
that. Sam Jackson can be Nick Fury on his deathbed, okay?
He will. He can and he will.
Yeah, he was.
can and he
That
will.
man can keep shaving his face, and we will never know that
Yeah.
he is literally
It's
68
true.
years old. For
It's
real.
true. People don't know this right now. Samuel L. Jackson is 104 years old
We
right
don't
now.
like.
We
you
don't know.
He's
He's older than Kirk Douglas.
It's true. He was 82 in Pulp Fiction. It's just black don't crack. It's
Him-
part of the deal.
Him and Morgan Freeman, which by the way,
Yes.
if you put Morgan Freeman in a Marvel movie,
Yeah.
I think that would be the great God in a Marvel movie. You put God,
Yeah.
God with freckles.
Oh,
That'd be amazing.
God, with Kirk.
That'd be
with freckles?
amazing. So, I mean, I think he's gonna come back, and I hope that I would still love to see at this point, I'd love to see a prequel Nick Fury movie. No
I've
joke.
heard
You
people
bring
say
in
they
another.
want
You
that.
bring in another actor where it's him transitioning from army guy who gets recruited and then becomes the director. Like, I would like to see that, but I feel like you'd need to not just digitize young Sam Jackson, to make him look younger, but like bring in an actor who's 25 to play, who can do a Sam Jackson impression.
Any superpowered elements though, if you're going to do that?
I would love if they actually revealed that he's been around since World War II. That would be amazing. If they were like, Nick Fury, his only power is he was exposed to the Infinity Formula, which means that his age slows down to a crawl. His aging slows down to. I would love it if they did.
Him
if they
and
did a
Steve
prequel.
Rogers. So he knows about Steve from Jump because they were at the same SSR.
But Steve never met him.
They never
But
met
of course, he knew of Captain America.
Right,
he knew of
Steve.
like. I would love it if there were flashback scenes where Steve walks by in the suit, and he's this young brother who's like, "Whoa, what am I doing? I'm in Europe, and whatever." And he sees Steve Rogers, and then it's like something happens to him, and he ages so slow that's why he becomes the spy, as Iron Man says. He's a spy. He's the spy.
He's the spy.
He becomes James Bond in the 50s and 60s
okay.
and 70s. You know what I mean? That would be dope.
Marvel, I just want you to know that Hector Navarro, Adam Havelock, and myself have just written your Nick Fury prequel movie. We need these checks.
And you start with a young actor, and then you end the Nick Fury movie with Sam Jackson, like it just reflecting or whatever. Or the easiest thing to do would be something that happens when he was like 20, comes back 80. 100 years later, 90 years later, and some other threat. It's easy to pull some comic book shit, some Hydra thing that he has to fight as an older man, and maybe that's when he retires. And now that you got the Watchers in Guardians of the Galaxy, do you know what ends up happening to Nick Fury? He ends up becoming the new Watcher, and he observes the whole universe. No joke. And it's like, that would be an amazing send-off to Sam Jackson. To just cut to Sam Jackson on the moon, like...
You
wow.
motherfuckers got issues.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be amazing.
That'd be so good.
All right.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this raccoon?
Yeah.
Just yelling at Rocket.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Oh, that would be so good. Yeah, and I think there's potential to bring him in for Avengers 4. I mean, it just started filming. Like you were saying, reshoots, man. Plenty of reshoots. They're going to be doing a shitload of reshoots anytime between the end of the year and before Infinity War comes out in May.
Yeah.
There's time. There's so much time. All right, the final thing we're going to talk about tonight, story-wise, Silver and Black finally have a release date, and they have a director. I know, I hear you. Sony announced a new slate of release dates, including Silver and Black, the Spider-Man spin-off film that takes place in Sony's Marvel Universe, not the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with a release date of February 8th, 2019. The film will be directed by Gina Prince Bythewood, who directed the pilot for Marvel's Cloak and Dagger, which is coming to Freeform. And she also directed Beyond the Lights and Love and Basketball.
That's awesome.
I'll play you 101 for what? For your heart. It's Love and Basketball.
Love and basketball. It's such a bummer that this is the project that we have for the first time. It seems like a superhero movie directed by a woman of color, and it's Silver and Black. And I'm like, God, man,
she fell into the wrong thing.
It's just
Marvel,
remember, Ava DuVernay
Widow.
was supposed to have did Black Panther at first.
I know, but she couldn't have done an Ava movie, is what she said.
She couldn't do what she wanted to do.
Couldn't do what she wanted to do. But I'm excited because I never want any of these projects to fail. I am, of course, trepidatious and a little cynical, honestly.
You use all the better words than I am.
Yeah, because
I know it's stupid.
Let's
call it for what it is, Hector. It's stupid, bro.
Here's my worry, and I hope this isn't the case. I worry that the deal that Marvel and Sony did means that they couldn't do Spider-Man-y stuff, because before Silver Sable, who I like, and before Black Cat, who I really like, the female-centric character in the Spider-Man world that you're going to do is Spider-Woman, or Spider-Gwen. And for me, the reasons that they didn't go with any of those characters, Spider-Girl, there's different Spider-Women characters. There's different characters. Is because of the fact that Venom, I feel like they're going to find a way to do it without Peter Parker. And that bums me the hell out.
Movie, yeah.
I feel like they're going to do Silver Sable and Black Cat without Peter Parker. And that bums me the hell out.
And that's the problem. That's when they first announced that they were doing a Venom spinoff film, and it would not have Spider-Man.
Yeah.
If you, as a comic book fan or a fan of any of these films, didn't go, what the fuck are y'all doing?
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Because it makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Then they say, they're gonna do the biological symbiote made in the lab, but it doesn't matter because that symbiote is made by Peter Parker's parents.
Thank you, Richard Parker.
It's made by Richard Parker.
Thank you,
So
Jay.
Again, you have to bring Peter into this conversation somewhere. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
And they're gonna do this, and then you're like, we're gonna do a silver and black movie. Felicia Hardy falls in love with Peter Parker at a point.
Or at least in lust.
At least in lust.
For better or worse, she's a female villain who basically just wants to bang the hero, and it's
she's like the equivalent of Catwoman to Batman, except they don't have a kid later. But why are you doing this? I get it. Amy Pascal, when she said, yeah, we're going to do our own universe, they figured because Spider-Man is successful now in the MCU, that automatically it will translate into Sony being able to do these films. The problem Sony doesn't seem to realize is you have to have this pivotal character in order to do the money maker, the guy who makes this all happen.
The foresight that Marvel Studios had to make Iron Man and go, you know what, if Iron Man is a success, the other characters we have the rights to are Captain America and Thor. We should absolutely build towards an Avengers film. Is something that I think, for me, comes from people who understand the material. They understand Marvel Comics. When I see a Venom spin-off movie without Spider-Man, when I see Silver Sable and Black Cat without Spider-Man, it seems like it is studio executives. It is people who don't understand the material. They don't understand the world of Spider-Man and that whole side of that very popular fictional universe. And instead, it does seem like, let's find ways to make movies that will make money because they have the Marvel brand, and they'll do this and they'll do that.
We'll keep the rights.
And I haven't been convinced yet that creatively this is the way to go. And that's tough because I've been reading Spider-Man comics since I was 5. If you're having a tough time convince me that these characters are worthwhile and having their own film without Spider-Man, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? This is a mind fuck, because it's like you have to, in a trailer, convince me that Venom, Eddie Brock, or Flash Thompson, or
Eddie Brock.
Matt Gargan, or whatever Venom is going to be a good film without Spider-Man. It would be as if, and it's tough to put yourself in this, it would be as if doing Bizarro without Superman or Man-Bat or Joker without Batman. Right? Because Venom's this sort of mirror image. And yeah, Silver Sable and Black Cat would be like doing Lady Shiva and Catwoman without mentioning Batman. And even, you know what? Even that's even makes more sense than Silver Sable and Black Cat to me, because their histories are very much tied in with Peter Parker. But I think the number one is that Venom needs to happen with Spider-Man, and there's no way around it. Even if these rated R movies, these darker, and every time you hear darker from a studio, you think you're latching on to what you think is what is popular, what you think is what's in, because of what's making money. And you see Deadpool and you see Logan and you go, well, we can do superheroes and rated R, for a lower budget, and it'll make money.
Right.
Sony needs to talk to Fox because, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Hector.
No, please.
Because Deadpool worked.
Yeah.
Because Fox has the right to the other characters that they want to tie into Deadpool.
Colossus, the X-Man.
Yes, they have all that.
Thank you.
Spider-Man is now in the MCU. He's going to deal with the bigger bad guys. He's not going to deal with his own bad guys anymore. So now you're going to have his own bad guys stand alone in the film? When they were also talking about saying, hey, we may do Carnage.
Yeah.
Which, if you do, you should never put that movie out in theaters. Because none of it. Yeah, the Venom Carnage angle, them fighting each other, works. But again, what is the pivotal part that we're always missing? Spider-Man.
Yep.
None of this works without Spider-Man. None of this makes sense without Spider-Man. Sony is literally, like you just said, is trying to get money off of this because they figure, hey, rated R movies are profitable. Deadpool worked. Logan worked.
Yeah.
But they don't look at why they worked.
Yeah.
Logan is the culmination of 18 years,
Yeah.
18 years of X-Men movies.
Yep.
Logan is the culmination of 18 years of X-Men movies. Deadpool works because it fits in that realm.
Yep.
And because of the character and Ryan Reynolds respecting the character,
Yes.
to say he has to break this fourth wall. He acknowledges the dumb shit that happens. He acknowledges the fact that there have been 2 Professor X's.
Yeah.
He acknowledges it. It worked because of what was around it. You can't take these side characters that literally need to be established by the main character to work. It just doesn't happen. And people will say, oh, well, Hollywood can write a script where it works. No, they write a script where they think it works. On paper, that doesn't even sound right. Which means when you put it to film, it's definitely not going to look right. You're going to have what ended up being, unfortunately, I have to say, is Suicide Squad. It sounded good.
Yeah.
And even Suicide Squad works because it's been its own comic. Like, that concept works to me in that world because Suicide Squad came around at a time where there was already an established DC universe of heroes and villains, enough villains to be in a jail.
Well,
You know
and
what I mean?
also-
Where it's like, that makes sense.
I shouldn't fault the film. I'm sorry. I shouldn't fault the film for the characters. I fault the film because of the script.
I get what you're
Because
saying.
I
get
fault
what
the
you're
film
saying.
because of the script.
Great idea on paper, didn't stick the landing.
Didn't stick the landing.
Audiences didn't respond to it. I get what
But
you're
at
saying.
least it has Batman in it.
It has Batman in
Small
it.
capacity, but
has
it's in there.
That's a good
Batman
point.
Flash is in it.
That's a good point.
But you're talking about going a route. There's no way you can get to Venom.
Yes.
No way at all without Peter Parker being a part of this one way or another.
There have been stories in comic books where Venom is on his own, of course. And the
Yes.
same with Silver Sable and Black Cat. But the best version of Venom is when he is obsessed with killing Spider-Man. The best version of Black Cat to me is when she is this thief who meets up with Spider-Man, the sexy guy in a skin-tight costume, and she's like, I want to hook up with this guy. And he's like, well, you're a criminal, but I'm attracted to you, but I need to arrest you, but kind of that Batman Catwoman thing. The best version of Silver Sable, sorry, I'm drunk, is when she shows up and she's with this mercenary, and Spider-Man and other characters have to like contend with like, how can I let this woman from this other country go and maybe do these assassinations, or would like, I need to stop her, but she might be morally right, and you know, because it's all kind of based around, unfortunately, the male hero protagonist character of Spider-Man. You want a female-centric thing? You do Spider-Woman.
Yes.
You want a female-centric thing? Do Spider-Gwen.
Which is a
Fuck.
which I'd have no problem with them doing Spider-Gwen. I would have zero problem with them doing Spider-Woman or
Yeah.
Spider-Girl. You have those options to do.
So why isn't Sony doing them? It's got to be a rights thing. It's gotta be.
I doubt, because if that was the case, I mean, look, Marvel and Sony had this come together. Look,
Yeah.
you've had 5 Spider-Man movies. First ones
6
have been
now.
6 now. But this is before Homecoming.
Yeah.
You have 5 Spider-Man movies. They haven't been well received towards the back end. Let us take this character. Let us add him to our universe. Let's show you what we can do with him. Sony says, all right, dude, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You get him for 22 minutes in Civil War.
Yeah.
And those 22 minutes steal the show.
Yep.
Then you say, because those 22 minutes were so amazing, we're going to make his own film. You take his film and everybody say, oh, well, I see too much Tony Stark in the trailer, all this Tony Stark. Watch what we do with it.
Yep.
And you make I personally think it's an amazing Spider-Man film showing a kid in high school coming to grips with being a superhero. Now, granted, Tom Holland can't hold water. We know we're getting 2 more. Perfect. But we don't have to touch any of that Venom. We don't have to touch
I know.
we don't have to touch the Scorpion. We don't have to touch anybody from the Sinister Six. We don't have to touch Kingpin, anybody. We've got enough to do with him to make him busy. So Sony is like, well, since they now have Spider-Man, we have everybody else. Leave them be, or just give them to Marvel.
I know, man.
Give them to Marvel.
Because imagine how awesome a Venom movie would be if they introduced Eddie Brock to meet Tom Holland's Peter Parker, the next Spider-Man, and then gave him his own movie after that.
If you
know what
do
I'm saying?
that, that's fine.
Do you know what I'm saying?
If you
Imagine how
introduced
great
him-
a Black Cat, Silver Sable movie would be if those characters were introduced in a Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland and then branched off from there.
Also,
Like,
most people's only introduction to Venom in live action is Topher fucking Grace.
Yep.
It's Topher Grace.
Plus, I think the thing too is like, I feel like Amy Pascal still doesn't have a handle on what is connected and what is not connected. Every single interview, it's like, well, it's in the same universe, but it's not in the same universe, but it's in the same universe. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
It's a bummer.
Is Spider-Man in the fucking Venom
You know what
movie
it
or not?
reminds me
Can
of?
you
You know-
acknowledge him? Is it Tom Holland Spider-Man?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, and I understand Amy Pascal is the producer of these Spider-Man movies, but it reminds me of like back in the day after they did Batman Begins, and then they announced that the Joker was going to be in the next Batman film. Somebody asked Jack Nicholson what he thought, and he was like, "I can't believe they didn't ask me to do it."
Right.
Like Jack Nicholson doesn't understand that Batman Begins
not a
was a
sequel.
reboot.
It's
not
a reboot
you know
of
what I
the
mean?
whole thing.
But then afterwards, somebody asked him, "What'd you think of Heath Ledger?" And then I think he saw the film and he got it, and of course he praised him and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that initial reaction of like, "Why didn't they ask me to do it?" It's like, bruh, you don't know that.
I
That's
just
want Hector to keep doing that voice.
you got,
Why did
it's
they
got
ask
nothing to
me
do with me. You know, I don't know. So it's just, yeah, man.
It's frustrating. It's really
and
frustrating.
she's trying to sell her thing, but then she's
Right.
awkwardly sitting next to Kevin Feige,
And he's over there like,
and then he sees
Kevin
the videos,
Feige, but if you look,
motherfucker.
if
You
you
know?
look at Kevin Feige's face, he'd be like, "The fuck is wrong
Yeah.
with you?"
and he
Kevin
knows
Feige
that.
is an
He knows
expert.
that.
Kevin Feige is an expert of selling and
Yes.
an expert of explaining exactly what you need to hear.
And that's why
Amy
he's at the
Pascal's
helm.
like, it is, but
And
it
that's why
isn't.
he's at the helm of Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, when Iron Man came out, Kevin Feige had the plan already.
Yeah.
he said this movie has to work for us to do anything else.
And when
It
people ask
worked.
Feige, is this connected or is that connected? Even if they're asking in an awkward way and they don't exactly know how to ask it, Feige knows what they're trying to ask.
He knows where you're going.
And he
He
knows
goes,
how to answer it in a way, but poor Amy Pascal was probably asked like in an awkward way where like, I forget what the clip was, but she was probably answering, oh no, Venom and Silver Sable and Black Cat will be connected. Like that's what she was, she may have been answering a different thing. But Kevin Feige can still hear those badly worded questions and go, I know exactly what you nerds are trying to ask, and let me lay it out for you because I'm one step ahead of the game. And other producers, Spider-Man movies, whatever superhero franchise movies, like it's really tough to do that kind of stuff and really tough to play that PR game. And Feige's really, really good at it. So he knows how to answer those questions even before they're asked.
Yeah.
He knows what he's going to say about a thing when he shows up to a red carpet. And that's why everybody's always trying to ask him because he has the juiciest shit, but he also knows how to answer something without answering anything.
Yes.
And that's such a tough thing to do, but he knows how to do it so well. So when somebody like Amy Pascal is put on the spot, you're gonna get awkward shit like that. You can put Feige can be in a pressure cooker and he's fine.
Yeah.
He can handle it, and he can tell you everything you want to hear without really saying anything.
Do you think that the Silver and Black movie, if they build up a Venom movie and then they do Silver and Black, do you think that that's an opportunity that they're going to try to use to put Venom into that movie?
Of course.
Is it like
It's their own it's their universe.
Does it
now.
make sense though?
No.
Listen, man.
not.
Listen, man. I'll say this. Anytime I think, does it make sense? And I go, no. It didn't
They
really
still do
make
it.
sense to me to pair up the Flash and Green Arrow.
Sure.
But now they're buddies in the CW, superhero Arrowverse, and that kind of makes sense to me. Before, it's always been Flash and Green Lantern or Green Arrow and Green Lantern. Those have always been the classic pairings.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to rule it out, but dude, we can't ignore all the shit we were just talking about. This whole conversation.
But
like,
you know why those work?
Yeah.
The reason Flash Arrow works is the reason like Spider-Man in the MCU works. You have someone who understands it. You have Greg Berlanti who understands
Totally.
what he's doing with the Arrow.
Yeah.
Greg Berlanti has 5 shows now with Black Lightning.
Yeah.
Greg Berlanti only had 4, and the
now
CW
Titans.
and Titan 6. CW told Berlanti after Legends, you are done, bruh.
Really?
That is it. It was like, that's it, bro. We not doing it. Because then he got
there's no more
Supergirl
days in the week.
It was like, you got Supergirl to come over. They was like, hey, man, we not taking no more shows. So then him, it's like, hey, man, we just not going to do it. So then him and Mara Brock Akil and Salim Akil, they start to pitch Black Lightning.
Yeah.
They go to Fox, and Fox says, no,
Yeah,
we don't
cool.
want this. And CW was like, for real?
Yeah.
Let me get that. Let me get that.
Yeah.
He understands what he's doing.
Yeah.
Again, he took 4 shows and made them cross over.
And they're doing it again this
They're
They
season.
doing
do
it
it every
again.
season, and it's awesome.
And then doing it again.
You know?
They understand this. Amy Pascal is just like, again, like you said earlier, they just see the properties. They see it's profitable. They know that rated R comic book movies now, people are running out to go see them. And it's just a money grab.
I'll
boy.
unfortunately drink to that.
I've already drank. to
I'm
that.
already drinking mine.
hope it's good.
Man, this soju is amazing.
It's good. It really is. I'm
All
very
right,
drunk.
before we go, we got a couple questions from the viewers. If you guys want to send us any questions, you can do so hitting us up on Twitter. I'm a little drunk too. At HyperRPG using the hashtag HyperHeroes. So we take your questions every single week. Ask them any time of the week, and we'll answer them on the show. The first question comes from British Dude 12,
Love this
who says,
question.
"Hector, what's your pitch for a Plastic Man movie?"
Well, Tyler Beckett, British Dude 12, here's my pitch. You got to do an origin story. People always shit on the idea of Plastic Man, but here's my favorite thing about Plastic Man. And we've seen this story before a million times. We've seen it even in Spider-Man Homecoming. The villain who has a daughter, the villain who has a family, right? This guy who's a low-level crook, Eel O'Brien. But this is how you have to do the movie. Eel O'Brien, they did it in Batman Brave and the Bold. They showed his origin where he was a henchman of Kite Man. You're a henchman of like a better villain, and then an accident happens to you and you get powers. I want there to be a Plastic Man movie where the opening is he is like down on his luck. He's like Ant-Man. Remember when Ant-Man couldn't get a job because he was a convict?
convict.
I love that moment. Like Scott Lang couldn't get a job even though he's good-looking Paul Rudd, so kind of not believable, but still.
But then he works at a Baskin
But
Robbins.
and gets
place.
fired. So you take a guy named Eel O'Brien who's like a funny guy, has no choice. He's had a life of crime because of circumstance. He ends up getting this gig where he goes and he performs this gig, this con or whatever the job that he has to do. Batman shows up. Give me Ben Affleck Batman. And something happens where he gets arrested, gets something, but like at some point he gets powers and then decides to use his incredible magical powers of stretching and being able to not just stretching. He is the greatest stretch character in terms of stretch powers, more than Mr. Fantastic, more than the Elongated Man, because he can literally turn his body into magically like like advanced chemical components, meaning he could turn his hand into a gun and it would be a working gun with a. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the difference between Plastic Man and other stretch characters. Other characters can I can fit under a door.
He can reconfigure his molecules.
Exactly. He can be like, I can be an advanced chemical.
He's a stretchy transformer.
He's a stretchy human transformer. So you have this movie where it's a redemption, where he tries to be a hero, like Ant-Man. We've seen this shit before, right? We also understood why Adrian Toomes' Vulture was doing what he was doing. His family, he got a certain quality of life, but still, he had a daughter and a wife. And then by the end of the film, I want there to be a moment where Batman sees his heroism and vouches for him to be on the Justice League. That's your movie, a movie that starts with the henchman of a better villain. And by the end of the movie, he becomes admitted to the Justice League of America. Like, that's dope as shit. Not to mention, Plastic Man's funny and his powers are cool.
Yes.
And you could cast a great comedic actor in that.
Yeah.
And don't ever shit on me for thinking Plastic Man would be a good movie from here on out, because I just gave you the pitch. Get out of here.
Yeah, he did.
Well, Hector gets really excited when he sees Plastic Man show up in the DC lineup.
I know, I get really
We were
excited.
at Comic-Con, he's like, fucking Plastic Man!
I want to see it. There you go, Tyler. Thank you. Great question.
Next question comes from Miles Haylett at Miles_Haylett. As Ben Affleck has stated, Justice League will be a product of two separate visions. Do you guys feel worried that the movie might suffer?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
All
matter.
that
Doesn't
matters
matter.
is the end product.
Doesn't matter.
That's it. Ask me the question again after seeing Justice
Yeah,
League.
holler me in
because-
November,
Yeah.
late November.
That will be such a fascinating conversation in the same way that we had those conversations
We will have
about
that conversation, I'm
Ant-Man, where we were asking ourselves how much of this was Edgar Wright's script and vision and how much of it was Peyton Reed.
Yup.
That's a great conversation to have, but let me see the movie first. And everybody's going to be having this conversation. How much of this was Joss? How much of this was Zach? How much of this is Whedon writing and directing? How much of this is Snyder writing and directing? We'll have it then. But I'm not trying to I'm not trying to shit on this movie, man. Like, I want it to be awesome.
People want Justice League to be good.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Can't shit on it. Can't shit on it.
But
won't
great
shit on
question,
it.
Miles, but just ask us in November.
In November. Claire58 asks, he's cool, referring to Jay. You're cool.
Great.
She approves. She approves.
He's
Would you
coolio.
rather see a Green Lantern member in Justice League or see a hint of one at the end, like a green glow cliffhanger?
All right, for anybody who follows me on Twitter
Yeah.
and everything, I already believe we've already saw him. He's in that trailer.
Do you think he's the one that Jeremy Irons
He's
is
the
talking
one
to?
who's
Get out of here,
He's
Jay.
the one who's Jeremy Irons is talking to, and I'm gonna tell you for two reasons.
Okay.
There's a part, I think it's like at maybe 3:10 or 1. I don't know the exact numbers, where the bat ship is flying and there's a green light under it. Why is there a green
Really?
light? Yeah, there's a green light under it.
Can it just be the ship's light?
No, none of his ships have lights like that.
Ooh.
None of Bruce's ships have lights like that. He doesn't have the traditional lights. Also, if you listen to the sounds, when Jeremy Irons is talking, you hear the whirring, like the green aura is around him. Also, when the original Aquaman pictures came up, the original photos with Jason Momoa said, unite the 7. We're only seeing 6. I think that was their teaser in this new trailer to tell you it is 7.
I feel like you could break each one of those down, but I'm not going to. Those are good arguments. Those are good you can go for Unite the 7 Seas.
That's what everybody tried to say
You know,
at first.
you can,
but this isn't. But because of what they're
Justice
fighting
7.
for, right? Because of what they're, I can see
I hear
Unite
you.
the 7 Seas. I could definitely see
But
that.
I hear you. Okay.
But the fact you have to bring them get together and whatnot, unite the 7. It isn't the Aquaman that's bringing them together. Of course, it's the Batman. But I think we're going to find out that while everything was happening with Man of Steel and everything, maybe Hal Jordan, from what I'm hearing, it's Jon Stewart. The Lantern happens. But also, there is no reason that you have Steppenwolf say in this trailer, you have no protectors on this planet, no lanterns.
Oh, that's true. I love
You
that.
have no reason to say that.
Unless you're setting it up.
Unless
yeah.
you have him coming in this movie.
Yeah.
So that you have him saying that in the beginning. You have the green light under the ship.
Damn.
You have the end where Jeremy Irons is talking and everybody thinks it's Superman.
It's red.
Because you think it's Superman. Oh, it's Superman. But if you listen to the sounds, because it's not just it's not just what you see visually, you have to listen to. You hear the whirring like you have when the Green Lantern shows up.
Superman doesn't whir.
He doesn't whir. He's just
a guy.
He's there. Green Lantern whirs. And so I believe he's there, which I believe you have to do. You have to have the 7 of them because I believe we all will be cheated if the Justice League is 6. We've all seen the cartoon movies, which are amazing. And we always see 7.
It's true.
We always
Those are the
see
core
7.
core members, including Aquaman at
There's
7.
7
Yeah.
members.
And it sounds like from what they've talked about is that the Green Lantern Corps has already been established.
The Corps already
Because
happening.
the Green Lantern Corps movie is supposed to be
And
a
that's
buddy
just what
cop.
and that's what I was about to bring up. The Green Lantern Corps movie is going to happen. This will be the introduction for everybody into that part. Again, the DCEU. We know a buddy cop, lethal weapon in space type movie is happening. With this Jon Stewart, we don't know if we're getting Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, or Hal Jordan, but we know Jon Stewart is there. If the fact that we know that Jon Stewart is there, you introduce him in this movie.
How do you know Jon Stewart's there? Because he's in the Green Lantern Corps, is what you're saying.
That and some other inside sources.
Okay,
I'll tell you
okay.
guys about. But
I like that.
I like being on this side of the camera.
So you're saying introduce Jon Stewart in Justice League?
it's the Green Lantern.
Yes.
You have Jon Stewart, but you're introducing
Green
the
Lantern. And then the buddy cop is him and Hal.
And the buddy cop is him and Hal, or whichever one, whichever iteration.
You know
they do.
what would be amazing? Because I've never considered this up to this point. Maybe because I'm too much of a hardcore comic book enthusiast or cartoon enthusiast or whatever. Because even in the cartoon show, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, Hal was the first human Green Lantern.
Yeah, then it becomes.
And then it's John. And they talk to that. Like they
Yeah.
mention his name and stuff. What if in this universe, Jon Stewart's the first?
Exactly.
And he becomes the veteran cop, and then Green Lantern Corps is about a rookie white dude
Lantern.
named Hal Jordan who shows up.
That's
and
what I'm
Hal's
thinking it
always
is.
been cocky, and Hal's
And
always
that's what I'm thinking it is. Because if you say you're doing Lethal Weapon,
because Jon Stewart's a veteran
he's
military guy.
He's the
He's
veteran
the military
military.
guy.
So you have a younger military guy. So again, to answer your question, Claire,
Interesting.
yeah, we're gonna get Green Lantern in this movie. We have to, because if you don't, you're cheating everybody by saying the Justice League is only 6 members.
Jay, I think you convinced me, man. Because I was on the side of like, I would rather not get a tease, but get a. I would rather them wait for Green Lantern for Justice League 2, where we get the full 7, because it seems like we're only focusing on the 6 characters in this film and blah, 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 blah. Because I would want them to actually go into it a little bit instead of having like a glorified cameo. But the way you broke it down, I'm like, I think they could do it. I think they could do it so that the last fight in this movie against Steppenwolf, or the last shot or whatever, is literally 7 characters.
You
Including
have
Lantern.
that iconic Justice League pose.
And then I would be like, come on. I'd be
Die.
amazing. Well, not a death, maybe a little death, but definitely orgasmic. We would all just be like, oh my God. Man.
Plus, I think and I think everyone's counter argument is like, well, the character that is standing in front of him clearly is wearing red. Color correction, very easy to change.
Yep.
Secondly, when Alfred is talking to that character, he says, "Let's hope you're not too late." People automatically assume, well, he must be referencing Superman.
Yeah.
Which, if it ends up being Superman, fine.
Yeah.
But if it ends up being Green Lantern, he's talking about an even greater hope. A hope
greater
for the
hope.
whole universe, which is huge.
Yeah.
Hope is hope is a part of will, which is the power of the Green Lantern.
There you go. That whatever's happening on Earth, whether it's the coming of Darkseid with Steppenwolf, is such a big deal that it's not just left to Earth's champions, which includes a dead Kryptonian who comes back to life. But
The
still,
Immortals
let's
actually know about it.
Let's
now.
go bigger. It's the Guardians.
It's the Guardians
Those
know about it.
big
Darkseid,
blue-headed guys.
obviously.
They're going to
Right.
send a lantern, and
send a
because
la-
this threat is so bad, they're like, we need every sector to have
We've
2
dealt with this
lanterns now.
before,
We
yeah.
need 2 lanterns.
need 2 lanterns
Recruit
now.
Hal Jordan, and Jon Stewart's like, all right, I don't know about this kid. And
All
there's
right,
your movie.
Riggs, let's do it.
Let's do it right
my
now. You
God.
have your Martin and Riggs, and
Yeah.
because again, you cannot just jump to the Green Lantern Corps and call it the DCEU without. You're not gonna wait until Justice League 2 to
Yeah.
all of a sudden give you a Green
It
Lantern.
doesn't even have a release date.
What
Right?
does it-
hope,
right,
man.
It's
I
not
hope,
even on
man.
the table.
I hope you're right, man.
But you get what I'm saying? It's not even on the table.
But what a secret that they've kept under wraps if
It's
he
been
is in
rumored
this
for
film.
so long.
What an incredible feat that
I
they're
gotta
able
remember
to.
the guy. There was a guy who was cast, and Julian Lewis Jones, I believe that's his name. Might be a mistake. I know Julian something Jones. He was cast in an unnamed role since last year. Nobody knew what it was.
Is he a black actor?
No, he was white. But here's the thing: he was replaced and recasted, and they never changed it and never told anyone. He was recast, so we don't even know who's playing Jon Stewart.
Oh,
They recast the actor, never told anybody.
really?
I'm intrigued.
The plot thickens.
The plot does thicken.
Oh man, I would be. Oh god, I just know that at some point there will be a Justice League film, whether it's this one or part
With
2,
all of them.
that has all of them.
It has
And
all
I'm-
7 regardless.
It
yeah.
all 7 regardless, and I'm still holding out hope for like a Martian Manhunter. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I love Cyborg.
I don't think
but
they'll pull him out because he's on a TV show now.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, yes, Superman is on
so
there.
is Flash.
Sure.
See, Julian Lewis Jones was the guy who was, Julian Lewis Jones was originally cast in the movie, but he was an unnamed role. He was an unnamed role, everything. So we didn't know what he was playing. But they recast. Word is, I got some word from some sources that he was recasted. Now, and I also found out from sources, it's supposed to be Jon Stewart, which you're gonna swerve everything.
Yeah.
You swerve a lot.
Now look,
because-
I got to throw this out there too, Jay.
Go ahead.
We're all just in speculation land, but
Yeah,
before
absolutely.
Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice came out, Jenna Malone was the actress's name. Everyone was like, "Oh, she's Barbara Gordon. She's Batgirl." Or she's the girl version of Robin.
Yeah.
Right.
What's the character's name? Carrie Kelly.
Carrie
She's Carrie
Kelly.
Kelly. She's Carrie Kelly. Everybody thought that. She ended up being like a scientist,
Just be a basic
like a
scientist.
bit like in like
Yeah.
a deleted scene for the Ultimate Edition or
Yeah.
whatever. So like, I don't
I
know,
mean,
man.
granted,
yeah.
you can't have somebody because there was the whole big thing of what Scoot McNairy was doing.
Yeah.
Everyone thought it was like,
Who's he
he's the
playing?
Flash.
He's the
His legs have green screen on him.
Yeah,
He's
it
the
was the
Flash.
whole thing. What was Scoot McNairy doing?
He was a victim of
he
Lex
was- He was
Luthor.
a victim of the beginning of the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
And it was like, oh.
Yeah.
It was a oh. I mean,
Scoot.
granted, there's so much speculation of things
Sure.
you can do,
Yeah.
but I think they've started to let you know that last trailer that they had to release at Comic-Con said, listen, there's going to be little hints here. We already know Superman is coming back because at first everybody thought he was coming back with the black suit. Henry Cavill's been on set, of course, with the magical mustache. Henry Cavill's been back on set in the regular Superman suit. So we know Superman shows up. But again, the green dot. Steppenwolf saying you have no protectors on this planet, no
love it.
lanterns.
I love it.
Should have never said that if you weren't. They letting you know the Green Lantern's in this film.
Oh, we'll see. We'll
Even
see.
if it's Justice Day, he's not in the whole film. I'm
Sure.
saying.
But
He's
shows up
in the
at end.
last 15, 20 minutes of this movie.
Shows up at the end. I would love it if Batman and Diana, Bruce and Diana, knew about all of the champions on Earth. We got Cyborg, we got Flash, we got Aquaman. But of course, the thing that they don't know about, even Wonder
Space.
Woman, Themyscira, space,
They
the
don't.
United States of
Final
space.
frontier.
They don't know that it has to be the Guardians to send champions to go like, you need to cover space
And they
because
go,
Steppenwolf's
oh,
coming.
yeah.
Well, remember,
That'd be
if you
amazing.
think, also if you look at the trailer, there's a mother box on Themyscira
Yeah.
that starts all this shit. So
Atlantis, the Themyscira, and Earth.
yeah,
Or
there's-
regular man's
yeah,
land.
these are where all the boxes are.
Yeah.
and so now they're like, oh, there's more than what we even think. And remember,
Yeah.
the Amazonians are they're not immortal, but Diana is a god.
Yeah.
And so to not know what's past that,
Yeah.
you know,
It's endless.
point.
It's endless.
Jay, great pitch. Great question.
great question, Claire.
Great question,
All right,
Steph.
final question from Melanie Montoya at @monmon_mel. Do you think Hawkgirl will ever make it into the DCEU? She was always my favorite Justice League member.
You know what? I just read a comic book that might answer this question. Melanie, if you're a fan of Hawkgirl, Shaira Hall, do me a favor, go to a comic book store, no joke. Get ready to drop like $5, $4.99 plus tax on Dark Knight's Metal issue #1. Hawkgirl's in it. She shows up. And I think it's their way to introduce this character into this larger world of, and their Justice League in that comic book is the Justice League in the movie. It's Cyborg instead of Martian Manhunter. It's like it's this the new 52 / DC Rebirth, whatever the current comics that are happening right now. Go check it out because they set up the mythology and the story of, I'm not really giving away any spoilers. You need to go get it. It's awesome. Of Hawkgirl and Hawkman, right? Shaira and Carter Hall. And they're really interesting characters, but they're a tough sell. They are a tough sell. They're either magical or they're sci-fi or they're both, and they have nth metal and they have wings and it's just a harness, but sometimes they actually are bird people and sometimes they're Egyptian and sometimes they're reincarnated. And all of this confusion is one of the reasons that I think Warner Brothers asked DC Comics to move from New York to Burbank because they're like, we don't get
Let's figure this shit
Hawkman.
out.
We don't get Hawkman. How are we ever going to make a Hawkman movie? Bring yourself to Burbank.
He's in that opening
Let's
scene.
do it.
He's in that
But
opening logo.
you go get this comic book, Dark Knights with an N, not a K, Metal, issue #1, and on the cover it's this, except it's the shape of the Justice League. No joke. That's what the cover is. Yeah. Written by Scott Snyder, art by Greg Capullo. I wish I had it, but it's in my car. It's out there. It might be the way that something like the DCEU might try to incorporate those characters because they are tough sells. But the way that they do it was really, really smart, really, really cool. Go check it out. After reading that, I was like, damn, this might be the proof of concept.
Yeah.
You know, I bet you somebody, maybe it was Jeff Johns himself at DC, maybe pitched to Scott Snyder like, hey man, if you could ever make the Hawk people work, put it in a story, and executives and writers, and we might be able to give that to somebody in Hollywood to be like, this is how you do it. That might be what's happening right now. So
And they've
go
tested the
grab
characters
that.
out. We've had Hawkman show up in Smallville.
Love
We've
it.
had Hawkman and Hawkgirl show up in the Arrowverse.
Oh,
So
that's
I
just
think it's a
tomorrow.
possibility.
I think it was
Amazing.
but I think what they put in the Arrowverse
Yeah.
for Hawkman
Yeah.
was bad
Okay.
because Carter Hall was short and it wasn't as dominant. Now Ciara with
Kendra
Sierra
Hall.
Renee,
Yeah.
the way she played it was
I
amazing.
love Sierra Renee.
Sierra Renee was
I love
amazing. And I was like, I wish you could have kept her along. Again,
Yeah.
Falk Henschel, he was cool, but he wasn't the Hawkman we knew, we
Sure.
wanted. Hawkman is like 6'4". He's a dominating,
320 pounds,
320,
just
just
ripped,
diesel.
yeah.
That wasn't Hawkman.
Sure.
Yeah.
That was
Hawk
like
boy.
I was like a Hawk before steroids. That's what it was.
You know what I like though is and you go back to the cartoon Justice League into Justice League Unlimited.
Yes.
The focus of let's change it from Hawkman to Hawk Girl / Hawk Woman. I like that shift in the focus of this mythology. I like that the comic books have focused on her, and that the cartoon show focused on her, and that the Arrowverse focused on her.
focused on her,
That she
yes.
was in Legends of Tomorrow season 1.
Right, she wrote.
I
she
like
wrote the
that.
whole way. She wrote the whole. Yep, she
Yeah.
stayed all the way through season 1.
Yeah.
Till they found Hawkman again, who died episode 2, and
I
then
know.
came back to life. And was
Sorry,
reincarnated.
man. But her and the Atom had a great like they had a little
I
interracial
felt sorry for
relationship.
Ray Palmer
too,
in that
man.
whole show. He
But
can't
at least-
find love for nothing.
At least he was happy for a little bit in the 50s.
That was it.
That was it.
In the
That was
50s.
it. So, but I like that they're focusing on Hawk Girl. So I hope that someday, yes, that in the same way that like Supergirl has upped her public consciousness from the TV show, hopefully that just means that we will get a version of Supergirl in the DCEU.
I think
You
real
know?
quick before I know you got to get ready. We got to get ready to go. Do you have a problem with the multiple characters being Flash in the TV, Flash in the movie, a
No.
Supergirl, a Superman on
Sure.
TV, a Superman in the
Sure.
movie?
We talked about this a little bit last week. I don't have a problem with it as long as they make it very clear as to what is television and what is movie.
Okay.
As long as the audience doesn't go into the movie, why isn't this the TV Flash?
Yeah.
And is in some way explained either through the movie of telling the origin story their way, or the TV show kind of acknowledging that like there is no Batman, there is no this, there is no that. I think that's the only way I'm kind of fine with it.
I also think that I kind of disagree with Adam in that I'm okay with it regardless. There's pluses and minuses to both approaches. Having everything be one unified universe and having things be separate, TV, movies, whatever, web, whatever. I think there's pluses and minuses to both. But like, I think that if you're a fan of something, the way that the internet is today, the way that our information is today, you can Wikipedia something and understand very clearly. I
But
can't
my
tell
mom
you.
won't.
I get that, and I know people. I have a friend who like she went to go see Spider-Man: Homecoming and didn't understand that it wasn't going to be Andrew Garfield until she was sitting down and the movie started. Do you know what I'm saying? There are people
Yeah.
who literally they don't give a shit
Yeah.
about the stuff we give a shit about. I get
Right.
that they'll be like, wait a minute, why isn't Andrew Garfield in this? Oh, I gotta watch this kid because she like had a crush on Andrew Garfield. You know, and it's like, ha ha ha, that's funny, but then she liked the movie, whatever. And I get it. Our moms don't care, our friends don't care, relatives, whatever. But I think if you're into something, you can very easily throw up a Wikipedia search. So many times, like on Instagram, I'll do like a little ranking of like, here's my favorite superhero movies in this universe, like animated DC movies in the new continuity. Here's my ranking of the 8, and people will chime in and be like, what about Superman Doomsday? What about Justice League
But you
New
said-
Frontier?
right, you
and
said
then
this
you know what I'm
new.
doing? I'm literally copy pasting the Wikipedia page link that explains that. Like, this is a continuity, just these movies. I just copied that link to that page, and anytime somebody commented that, I'm just like replying, paste, replying, paste, replying, paste.
You have it in your notes, don't you?
Tons of times. Yeah. And some people are like, oh, okay, cool, that explains it. Like, that's all it is. It's literally just a Google search. It's a
Okay.
Google search. So for the people who give a shit, they can Google search it. For the people that don't give a shit, they don't give a shit.
I think
Be
only reason-
confused if you're
the only reason
expecting
I bring
Grant
it up is
Gustin,
because
you know?
we've become so conditioned with what Marvel has done.
Sure.
When Marvel just did the movies, and then all of a sudden they said, "We're going to give you Agents of Shield with Phil Coulson." Wait, you're going to take the guy who
who
was
died?
a part of Shield, who died he was on Shield on the helicarrier, and you're going
Yeah.
to give him his own show? Yeah, and it's all connected. And then we saw it how after Thor: The Dark World, that next Tuesday on Agents of Shield, they were picking up pieces of the metal from it. You know, so it was like it was all connected, and we saw that. So then when you had the introduction of the Arrowverse, this is before the DCEU, mind you.
Yeah.
You were like, okay, so they're gonna do these shows. Then you had Arrow. Then you were like, okay, here comes Flash. But wait, here comes Superman. What are they gonna do? Here comes Batman. Okay, so we got Batman and Superman. We got the Green Arrow. We got the Flash. Are they connected?
Yeah.
Then we're gonna do a Justice League movie. Well, of course, Grant Gustin has to go into this movie. No, we're gonna do a whole different Flash.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing, because you saw so much of it happen with Marvel. Now that it happens with DC, you're like, it's different with DC. You're like, wait, shouldn't this be the mold? And granted, each one has their own formula, and it works for both.
It does.
Yeah.
It's
so
just
far.
a lot of people have that. I just like to bring it up to people. How do you feel about that separation
Sure.
in DC?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's tough too, because like for me, for us, it's like a very easy question to answer.
Mm-hmm.
But I would so love to do like a man on the street and ask people. There's two Flashes. How do you feel about it? Or
Right.
what's your
opinion on it?
Yeah, what's your opinion on? Do you know that it's two different things?
Do you know there's a movie coming? Do you
Right.
watch the TV
Or
show?
they're either going to be
You know?
like, I have no clue and I don't care, or they go, why?
Because the Flash from the TV show has actually taken over as being the focal show in the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
So
True.
it's the
this point,
Flashverse.
It is, really.
Yeah, characters are introduced on that, and they're in Legends of Tomorrow,
Yes,
and you know,
Exactly.
Supergirl first interacted with the Flash before she meets Oliver
she meets
Queen.
Oliver
Like
Queen,
she gets
yeah.
crossed over there, and then
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Super interesting.
it's there's pluses and minuses to both, and I think that the pluses for keeping them separate mean that television can do television
own
stuff,
thing.
meaning
Yeah.
that Greg Berlanti doesn't have to wait to get clearance from a movie studio to go, I want to do Black Lightning as a show.
Or I want
wanna
to put
do-
Superman in the Supergirl. show.
Yeah, man. Which
Well, he had to get the clearance for that.
he did.
I'm sure he did.
He had to get the
both
clearance to
times,
use
yeah.
Superman because they
Absolutely.
were like, we're doing
It's that whole thing of like, is the audience going to be like, what? Why is this
right because we're
Henry Cavill?
doing Man of Steel already. We have our plans with this Superman.
But I think that the world is different now than it was, even now, than it was back when, let's say, Smallville was on. Because I remember hearing this when I was a kid and Smallville was on the air.
Superman Returns
They
came out?
couldn't do, no, even separately from that, they were not allowed to use Bruce Wayne because Warner Brothers was focusing
Nolan
on
trilogy.
Batman Begins. Like they were developing Batman
yeah.
Begins into that trilogy. So I remember there was an episode where Ian Somerhalder
Yeah,
from
played
Lost
Adam Knight.
Yeah.
in Vampire Diaries played a character named Adam Knight with a
yeah,
K,
yeah.
who was a karate expert, a computer expert,
yeah.
and then at the end they changed it like, well, he's like a poor zombified, like, and then we're gonna kill him off.
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
that episode was basically this young rich kid who's a karate expert meets a young Clark Kent. That was Bruce Wayne
That was
meets Clark Kent.
Yep.
So they gave him half of
had a
Adam West's
script.
name and the other half of the Dark Knight.
Knight.
They had a script that they wrote that they couldn't get the rights to, so they're like, all right, fuck it, we're going to change the name. But that was essentially that meeting. And I think that now, if they try to do something similar to that, I think that hopefully the movie studio would be more okay with it is separate. Fans are savvy about that. They understand. The fans of the CW superhero shows, they know that these characters are not coming down from a movie. Your movies are fine. Let us do our TV thing. They had their own version of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
They had Captain
Yeah.
Boomerang. They have
Yeah.
Deadshot. Like they had their own
Yeah.
version. And then you guys can still do the Suicide Squad movie. So I've heard rumors. I've heard things where like they couldn't continue using some of those characters
Right. They did it
because
'cause they
a
had a
movie
Harley
was coming
cameo.
out.
Yeah,
you know that
she wasn't even a cameo. She was just a voice.
Voice.
And
Yeah.
they were supposed
Back
to
of the
try to
head.
expose it and exploit it and go further, explore it, excuse me, and go further, but they couldn't because they were like, hey, we're gonna
Yeah.
do this.
And Deathstroke to a certain degree, too.
Well, no, they let Manu Bennett because he's going to be a focal point in season 6 of Arrow.
Ooh, he comes
so
back, huh?
yeah, he's coming back as a series regular. So
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Deathstroke was a big character for that show.
Yeah. Well, guys, let us know in the comments below what you thought about all the things that we talked about today. Make sure you guys submit your questions at HyperRPG using the hashtag HyperHeroes. Jay, thank you so much for coming
Thank
and
you
being
for
on the
having
show
me,
with
man.
us.
This was a ball.
You're
man.
the
I'm
best.
glad you
I
had
think-
a good time.
I think we hit about 2 hours because of how great that conversation was.
Yeah. Let everybody know where they can find you on the internet.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Mr. J. Washington. You can catch the Trusty Sidekick podcast at thetrustysidekick.com. Myself and Bobby Hill. We get you all caught up on everything going on in the Marvel and DC TV shows and cinematic universes.
Awesome.
Nice. What about you, Mr. Hector?
You can find me on the internet at Hector is Funny, and you can find me in the stores buying some more soju because this shit is delicious.
So, Jude.
So
3
good.
bottles. There we go.
So
You
good.
can just find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Adam Lavick. We're here every week at HyperRPG doing all this cool, fun stuff, Hyper Heroes, trailer reactions, movie reviews. And make sure you guys subscribe below, of course, and follow all of our social medias.
And don't forget to watch our Defenders
Yes.
watch through. Jay's going to be there.
August 27th.
Jay's going to be there. Jay, you hit. Jay,
my birthday, so
you,
Woo,
you hit us
getting some
up.
cake.
You hit us up either with your favorite episode of the Defenders miniseries or your least favorite episode of and we will be there and we're going to talk about it. And it's going to be awesome.
We're going to have a really, really, really good time. Guys, make sure you subscribe right here at HyperRPG on YouTube. Of course, all social media at HyperRPG. We'll catch you guys in the next episode.